Hey everyone, it's Samantha Cooper here, and I am with my lovely friend Alyssa Shaw. And we haven't had one of these conversations in a little while. It's been an
I
interesting
know.
year.
I'm so excited to be doing this with you again.
Me too, definitely. And I have to say, is that a money tree plant behind you?
Yes, it's
It
my
looks
money tree plant.
amazing. Amazing. I have
It
two
loves
sitting
Take
next to
Care.
me, but yeah, I won't show them to everyone else. But I will show them to you at a later point, Alyssa. I feel like we've already totally gone completely off. I'm sorry.
No, this is awesome. This is so ADHD.
It is really.
Yeah. So today we kind of just wanted to check back in, see what's what, see how 2020 has been going for us. But yes, check in and see how it's been going and what our takeaways are of what we've been learning through all of this craziness. And Sam's talking about resilience.
Yeah, before we started recording, I was just talking a little bit about how 2020 has taught me how important it is to like safeguard some basic resilience practices. And how more than any other time in my life it's taught me to like how important it is to take care of my body, and
Yeah.
the sort of source of or origin of pretty much all of our experiences, depending on what your like spiritual beliefs are, the origin of all of our experiences here while we are on this planet are through our body. And I think I just it didn't really, like, I knew it intellectually but not otherwise until this year.
It's really interesting because I discovered that this year too. I
Mm.
um I've been working with an osteo and I've been doing Tai Chi and I recently started Wing Chun and we definitely store emotions and feelings in our body. And I don't know if this is exactly what you're talking about, but this is kind of my take on it. And I've been releasing a lot of that, and it feels amazing, but it's a lot of work.
Yeah, it absolutely
Yeah.
is. I'm wondering, why do you think that came up for you this year? Like, what was behind that for you?
Oh, it was actually working with an osteo and doing Tai Chi. I've been doing it for the past year, so just coincidentally, um, that's kind of what I've been doing. But Tai Chi has been helping me. Like, when you're saying take care of your body, um, osteo and Tai Chi have been helping me to take care of my body and myself so that I can be in a better place to deal with everything going on.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, it sounds like that was like a very fortunate kind of overlap with 2020 for you, that you were kind of already on that path before this all kicked off. Is that right?
Yes. Yeah, exactly. And kind of the restrictions that we have here in Quebec, it doesn't allow us to meet in person anymore, but Tai Chi has been switched virtually. So it's been adapted so that we can do it. And osteo is still like an essential service. So luckily, I can still go to that. But
Mm-hmm.
I'm really curious. So, when you say take care of your body, what does that involve for you?
So, really good question. Before this all began, well, when I say this, I mean before the global pandemic like made it basically to the Western Hemisphere, or when we found out it made it to the Western Hemisphere. Um,
Very different things. Yeah.
yeah. Prior to that, I guess it was December when I started weightlifting, and I'd heard all this stuff about how amazing weightlifting is from other people who did it, especially some like petite women I know who did it. And I thought, I want to feel strong in my body, so I'm going to try this. It was a little intimidating, because I'm hypermobile and have some other like chronic health issues that I wasn't sure I was going to be able to weightlift. But I weightlifted from December to March. And in March, I was actually in the best shape I've ever been in my entire life. And by the best shape, I mean, like, I felt really good in my body. Yeah, I had lots of energy. I just felt really, really, really good. I felt strong. I felt like I was, really starting to see that strength in my body in a way that I never had before. And
it sounds so empowering.
yeah, it absolutely was. And so
Yeah.
I was pretty gutted. I mean, we all were for lots of reasons, but I haven't been able to weight lift since March. And I could theoretically do it at home, but not at all in the same way. And I don't want to injure myself doing it by myself. I had a trainer with me the whole time previously.
And plus it's so hard to activate, right? It's hard to activate and do that by yourself, and you got the body doubling of working with the trainer and everything.
Yeah,
So that's
absolutely. But it was also, it's the safety aspect of it for me, because I've worked with trainers before who did not understand hypermobility and would push me really hard, and I injured myself a lot. And I found a trainer who seemed really switched on to that, and so it was really great working with her. And then I basically like haven't been able to do that. Like I kind of like got a taste of it for 3 or 4 months, and then I basically deconditioned, I guess is the term, for months. And I actually realized by the summer months, I wasn't even really getting out of the house much, that there would be days at a time where I wouldn't go out of the house and I wouldn't like be active at all, other than like going up and down the stairs to get to my office or get to the kitchen. And I really had to scale way, way back on what it looks like to sort of, I don't know, engage my body that way. So now I go for a daily walk, and I make sure that I'm like out and I get some sunlight, even when it's like gloomy and cloudy and raining. Getting exposure to like the outdoor light is so important. Like there's so much research to back up that that's like pivotal for your mental health, and actually for sleep hygiene as well. Like getting out to go for a walk in the morning and being exposed to morning light outside is huge. So I think me of a year ago, I would have been like, that sounds really boring. And it is. Like I go on the same walk every day, like almost the same route, and see the same houses. And it does occur to me like, oh, yep, there's that house again. Their yard sign is, very slightly shifted. But I know that's not the point. And it has been feeling really good to like make sure that I move my body every day. But, it took me it was almost like like getting over my, like the sort of injury to my ego to go from like being kind of a badass weightlifter, even though I'd only been doing it for a few months, to somebody who basically was never going outside or like being active at all. And then being like, all right, I'm going to scale way back, or, I'm not even going to scale back. Like I'm going to go for a daily walk. I'm going to do something I never would have thought of before, because it just wasn't exciting.
And it's so hard, at least it is for me, when we have this idea in our head of what we want to do and what works well for us, and we have to shift that. I find that so hard. Like I just ordered this exercise bike, a spinning bike actually. And it was supposed to only arrive by like Christmas. And then so I was like, okay. And I've been gaining some weight because of quarantine and all that fun stuff. So I'm like, okay, I have to get this bike sooner so I don't gain more weight. And it was so hard for me to be like, okay, this bike isn't coming. I'm gonna cancel it and do something else. And yeah, I've been battling that for weeks. And it's like, okay, just go for that walk. This picture in my head that I have to shift it to something else, and it's so hard. But I actually ended up ordering a different spinning bike, so we'll see if that comes.
Cool. Yeah. I totally, like, that's such a good point. Like it's really hard to make that shift from, getting our sights set on like, I want this particular thing, and then having to go through the process of accepting like that's probably not going to happen. Or if I am so set on this particular thing, like it's I'm going to sacrifice my actual health if I'm not willing to do anything else, which is basically what I did. I mean, I don't know that I was conscious, but I think I basically had to almost, or not had to, but I did like, I went through this process of like, I'm not even like being active at all, and feeling the impact of that after several weeks. It was only then that I was like, okay, maybe I'm a little over attached to like somehow being able to weightlift, or I got like these weighted jump ropes or whatever that I thought I was going to use outside, but then it's so hot where I live in the summer and so many mosquitoes, like that's just not going to happen. And yeah, I think I was just I was being stubborn and being like, there's nothing else I can do in the meantime.
Yeah, like, no, I have this figure in my head and I'm going to do this thing that I want to do.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I love that stubbornness though. It's, it gets in our way, but I also love that we have that because it takes us far.
I agree. It's definitely taken me far in some ways, and then it's really gotten in my way in others. Like yeah. I'm not sure, like it's this drive. I'm not sure what else to call it. I mean, I guess stubbornness is what we've been using to label it, but it feels a little bit more complicated or complex than that. But
absolutely.
Yeah, it is one of those things that it is kind of a life's work to, what is the right word for this? I don't want to say control it, manage it, figure out how to use it to our advantage.
Yeah. Just be aware that it's even there. Yeah.
That's a good first step.
Yeah.
Or third or 10th step. I don't know.
Yeah. It's somewhere in there. It's a step.
It's an important step.
Yeah. So for me, I kind of have some takeaways of what I've been learning. I kind of realized that I spent so long hustling and, proving that I can do things. And I feel like I always have to prove and hustle and work. And now that I've finally got a business, my business is going, and it's not as much of a baby as it used to be. And I feel like I can finally just settle and breathe. It's a very weird feeling. And that's kind of what I'm discovering. It's like, okay, well, what does that mean? To just not always be running and going and hustling and going. And
have you figured out the answer to that? What does it mean?
So I've actually been reading this book, and it's really been helpful. One of my other coaching friends, she sent this to me. It's called The Untethered Soul. It's by Michael A. Singer, and he's talking about this. I'm on chapter 4. He's talking about this voice in our head that it always wants to be comfortable. So we're always trying to make it comfortable. And so it's kind of creating these problems, and we can either listen to it or not. So there's this one part, I'm going to butcher this, but he's, it's talking about how we're sitting on the couch and this voice in our head is going, oh, you should have started the dishwasher. Why didn't you start the dishwasher? And then we're like, okay, but hold on, I'm trying to watch my show. And then like a minute later, it's, oh, you didn't send that e-transfer. You should send that e-transfer now. Okay, be quiet. I'm trying to watch this show. And it's about, do you listen to this voice? Do you let this voice kind of win or not? And I usually do. I usually listen to it and tag along and go, oh yeah, okay. Yeah, the transfer. Okay, I'm going to do it tomorrow morning. And then there's one thing on my shoulder. Oh yeah, the dishwasher. Okay, I'm gonna pause, I'm gonna get up and I'm gonna do it. And then I hear the dishwasher in the background going. And it's, I don't get to enjoy my show because there's always this dialogue going on. And he basically says, like, once you personify that voice, you realize that it's not helpful and it's very annoying to have someone constantly in your ear going, you should have done this, don't forget about this, what about this, la la la.
How do you personify that voice?
How do you?
Yeah, how does one personify that voice?
You could, like, I just call it the voice in my head because that's like what he says, but you could call it Karen. You could be like, come on Karen, shut up. Or you could do anything. You could be the balloon that's sitting in your head, or it's like the little the circle with the
right
bubble, the speech bubble.
Yeah,
it's just the speech bubble. It's, you got to externalize it from yourself.
Yeah, I like that. For some reason, the name Harvey for my voice comes to mind. I have no idea why. I'm sure there are a lot of lovely Harveys out there in the world, but for some reason, it strikes me as somebody who might nag me a little bit.
Yeah. Okay. Harvey's your Karen.
Yeah, that's really interesting. I'm also going to butcher the thing that I'm about to try to say because I just looked at a worksheet from a positive psychology, from the positive psychology toolkit, which I subscribe to as part of my coaching materials. And I'm able to use some other, all of that stuff with my clients. And there's some really good stuff in there. And I was looking at the gratitude practices and worksheets that they have in there today. And I don't know if this was specifically for gratitude, but it basically was how to, maybe it was something about how to handle the inner critic or something with the counterfactual. And I was like, I love the word counterfactual. I don't really understand what that means in the title of this worksheet, so I'm going to open it. And it was basically that kind of voice that they were talking about, oh, if only you'd done this last night, you wouldn't be in this situation today. You should have done that. And I think the exercise was basically try to find the interpretation of the situation where you've done something right, basically. Mm-hmm. And I can't remember how they handled this particular example or if they did, but I guess in that kind of situation, oh, you didn't run the dishwasher last night, but you really enjoyed your show and actually you woke up in a really good mood today because of it, or something like that, rather than focusing on the oh, look at this drudgery you have to do now. You should have done this last night. You wouldn't be in this situation, but try to flip it, basically.
I love that, because there's so much shame and there's so much blame. And I feel like that's mostly what a lot of when we see people who have ADHD, we're unpacking that story, that narrative of the shame and the blame of, I didn't do this before and now I'm scared to do it because I didn't do it before.
Right.
I didn't do the dishwasher before, so now I'm scared to do it because I'm not very good at the dishwasher. Yeah. Which, it's just one experience. We could rewrite it.
Yep. Yeah, I like that. You can rewrite that story. But yeah, I thought this was kind of powerful and framed in a way I hadn't really thought of before. Really dig into your experience for okay, you got that voice telling you this thing or blaming you for whatever situation. but really like dig deep and think, what did I do that was good and right, actually, that got me here, or will get me somewhere tomorrow, or somewhere I want to be. Because we can, like, I think with that sort of reframing and effort, we can find evidence, like as much evidence for that as we can for the inner critic, or Harvey, or Karen, or like whatever you want to call that.
Yeah, and I love also digging even a little bit deeper and going, what does it say about you if you don't start the dishwasher? What does that say about you as a person? Because a lot of the time there's that attachment to the person, when starting a dishwasher doesn't have anything to do with you. It doesn't change who Alyssa is if I don't start the dishwasher. But we have this tendency to say it does.
Yeah, absolutely. Like we have some moral judgment of ourselves about it that we probably wouldn't have about other people.
Yes. Yeah. No, definitely. Yeah. I love how we do this. We like start with one topic and we kind of just go.
I was gonna say, like, wait, did we like diverge? Oh yeah, I guess we must have.
we sort of did at some point. But no, it's cool. We're just sharing what we're learning. Yeah.
We are indeed. Yeah, we've totally blown past the
15 minutes. Yeah. I just realized that. Like, I wonder what time it is past now. Anyways, so we should wrap it up.
We should. I mean, maybe. Sorry. Don't shit on yourself. Sorry, that just reminds me of the word shall. Like, shall we? How is that related to the word should? It feels different to me somehow. Like, it's not as obligatory.
Shall is question.
Right.
Should is should.
It's more like an instruction, or like
yeah. Or like, you should have. Like,
it's like scolding, basically.
Yes. I love how like I can say it in different tones and you narrate what the tone is.
Yeah, I love it. It is a talent, Alyssa.
Yes. I like the shall. I never thought about that. That's great. Yeah.
It kind of reminds me of, like, did you ever read Anne of Green Gables or any of those books? Okay. Yeah, just like some of the books I read when I was a kid, like fiction books that were sort of intended to be like a century earlier or whatever, shall was used a lot.
Yes.
Yeah,
shall
in those
we?
books. Shall we? Yeah. And so maybe I'll start using shall instead of should and see what happens.
I love it. You might get some funny looks, but I will probably appreciate it. All right, thanks for joining us on this sort of what's the word? Recalibration. Yes. And we're gonna make this a more regular thing again. So we will see you all soon. And also, we would love to hear how your 2020 is going and what you're learning from this experience that we're all going through right now.
Yeah, absolutely. I would really value hearing from others about this, and so that we can all like learn and reflect together.
Yeah, love learning from other people.
Indeed. All right. Thanks, Alyssa. Thanks, everyone.
All right, thanks.
Talk to you soon.